And this flies in the face of a statement that has been made for 50 years that no longer is heard from the American Dietetic Association, that all we need is to eat a balanced diet. Well, I have to say that when I hear that, I feel anger, because this balanced diet, according to the American Dietetic Association, includes white flour and white sugar. We are an obese nation now by eating white flour and white sugar. It encourages us to increase eating. It has brought forth supersized portions, which no human on the planet needs. But when you're eating white flour and white sugar, the body knows it doesn't have the nutrition it needs, and it's signaling you, even though you're full, to eat more. Empty calories. Dead stop white flour and white sugar. When you vote no, you don't eat that stuff, big business is going to say, oh my Lord, I got to make a change. That's the way to go.
So I had to create an owner's manual for myself, and it wasn't something that I was ever taught, and it's something that I wish we did teach our children in schools, how to eat and how to take care of ourselves, really. I was an actor and a dancer, and so my diet was based on what to eat in order to stay slim. It wasn't about nourishing myself. I was really big in the fat-free craze. I was all about carbs and low protein, and I ate a lot of sugar. I spent many years abusing different substances, alcohol, nicotine, over-the-counter medications, because I had many symptoms, because what I was putting in my body was making me sick. But I didn't understand that. And I do think that genetics plays a key role for many of us. We all come to this planet with a predisposition for something. However, we do pull the trigger at times. And it's not to make people feel guilty, it's just to awaken people and understand that we do have responsibility and opportunities to heal.
As you see what's happened to the food, you can quickly see that your gene deck is expressing a disease, an illness, a condition that's corresponding with the deficiencies that have been created. But it gets much worse. This deficiency state leads to a progression of infections. A toxicity state first, then an infection, and we see these biofilms building. These are thick, sticky, sugary sacs that can grow as big as 100 micrometers. Once they exceed 14 micrometers, they're invincible to the immune system. So we have to take something from the outside to break these biofilms if we're going to have a chance at getting rid of the infections that are inside. And once the bugs are safely inside, they're trading genes, they're tag teaming your immune system, they're helping one another by quorum sensing. This is changing color to tell when to attack and not attack. It's a veritable war. And as it escalates, the chance for your recovery diminishes.
My forte probably is nutrition, and I teach about a 10-session program that is called the Yoga of Eating. And that is, I train people to guide their eating based on 5 principles that are the way nature feeds all her creatures. Every one of these principles has a larger principle to it, which is that we are nourished by a whole life. You can't just eat your way to health. Everything that we do, our movements, our thoughts, and our relationships, all influence our health, and each, when done lovingly and skillfully, produces vibrance and vitality.
The weight was actually the last thing to come off, and my understanding in the alternative community is that they say that you should actually change your diet for your health condition, and the weight, whether you need to gain weight or lose weight, will actually be the last thing to change. And so it was only within the last year or so that my weight has actually changed, and it just happened all of a sudden. And people will say, well, what did you do differently? And I'll say, well, I made changes, but they were 3 years ago, you know. Things kind of got shifted into high gear when I discovered Ron, and continued with the dietary changes, but then added acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And for me, there was never any like miracle thing. And so many people have had that moment where all of a sudden they'll find, you know, a practitioner or, you know, a therapy, and all of a sudden things will change for them. And it was always very gradual for me, and there was as many steps backwards as forwards. And Ron would often ask me if I felt like acupuncture was making a difference, and ask me if I felt it was helping because it was so slow. And I don't know if something inside me told me it was, because there would be random things that would be instantaneous but would not affect the overall condition of the thing. And I just felt like it, you know, it was making progress, even if it was very slow and very frustrating. It took me 9 years to get through college. And a lot of that was, you know, I was on timeout programs, and, you know, had taken incompletes that I never got around to taking just because I wasn't functional. So that's certainly where I am now. And I actually just graduated, and now I'm looking for a job in the real world, which scares me, because what I would like to do is actually go to Latin America and work on my Spanish, and I'm scared of being away from Ron for any period of time.
I wasn't ever at any time ostensibly ill, sick, diseased in any way. However, I certainly have progressed in my vitality, in my strength, in my endurance, in my flexibility, in the ways that I nourish myself, in my digestion, particularly in my mind and my relationships. How do you eat in a fashion that is nourishing? There's debate all over the place about it.
My friend Dr. Gabriel Cousins says, you can't eat your way to God, but I like to say you can get pretty close. You can get pretty close, because you can purify your body. You can start feeling things you couldn't feel before. I used to eat a lot of stuff that insulated me. I was insulated, so I couldn't feel, I couldn't access all the energies that were around. And then as we stripped out that insulation, then what happened was all those energies became available, and I became able to know things I couldn't know before. This is what we invite everyone to be able to do, is strip away the insulation, the toxic thoughts, the toxic food, the toxic emotions, and get in touch with who you really are.
If you are too tired and you're too desperate and you're too down and out, and you might not want to do it for yourself because you just want it to be over with, then you do it for a greater purpose. You do it for something higher, and that's when, as Gabriel Cousins would say, it becomes a spiritual diet. It's spiritual nutrition. When you're able to connect the part in the whole and understand that you're this unbelievable part, this little tiny cog in the wheel of change. You know, the cog that is necessary for that wheel to spin, not for it to, you know, shut down. And then I think that that can help people tremendously with their integrity, with why they're doing what they're doing. They're doing it because they are making a difference for themselves, for generations to come, for the environment, for our plant friends, our animal friends. And my whole job and my journey is really to share my experience and hope that other people can find their road to happiness, their road to health. Because ultimately, in these times, we have to look for it. It's just not given to us freely.